Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room, your all access to what's hot, new, and what's currently going on in the world of sports. And this episode is loaded with content for this episode. Let's kick it off in NFL. We still got the A-Rod shenanigans going on.
Yep.
Where's he going to go? Seattle. I'm not Seattle, but Pittsburgh. Should he just retire? Plus, this offseason, we got some crazy news and OTAs. Haason Reddick's been holding out. OTAs are reportedly started, and Shador looks hot. Then we're going to jump into the MLB. The Mariners, as you can see, Adams wearing his jersey, but the Mariners look hot. They're off hot right now. Soon, skating down to the NHL, Oilers up 3-1 on the Stars. What does that mean for Dallas? Does this happen again to Dallas? Dallas has been seen making it far in the playoffs in recent years, but they always fall short. Is this going to be another year? And then down to the NBA Conference Finals, the good stuff that's going on in the world of sports right now, aside from the NHL. But the NBA Conference Finals right now is epic. We got Thunder T-Wolves, we got Knicks Pacers, two electrifying series that could go down in history as
hmm
some great playoff series. If these can turn around, can the Knicks possibly come back from 3-1? And tonight, can the Thunder close it out and win in five? So we got a lot to unpack, and let's get this episode started. So we're going to jump to the NFL, and A-Rod, this offseason, we heard speculations of him going to Pittsburgh, and OTAs have started, and he has not been at not training camp, but at Pittsburgh camp yet.
hmm
And that's raising a lot of questions. So I just want to get this from y'all. Do y'all think his time with Pittsburgh should even come, or do y'all think he should just retire, just call it quits? Because I had a post yesterday, and I just said I gave my opinion. I wouldn't be opposed to Rodgers going to Pittsburgh, but I think he's just doing too much at the moment, and I just think it's best if he calls it quits and hangs it up. He had a legendary career, and he will go down in the Hall of Fame, no
Yeah.
doubt. So I just think all this offseason drama is a little bit too much, but I just want to hear y'all's opinion.
So I guess I'll go first. Actually, as a Rodgers, I guess kind of like he's on our team on the Jets. He kind of did sort of the same thing to us last year, kind of missing OTAs, kind of just showing up late, and we saw Rodgers sort of having a Q&A, answering people's questions on an open mic. Actually, he just had a microphone, this huge crowd of people, and he was hinting that he was maybe playing Chicago in Week 5, and Molly makes a good point on First Take ESPN when she was saying that like he doesn't know any of the streets really, where to get ice cream, where to work out, where to this is all very just so late for OTAs for him missing it. I feel like at this point, and the Steelers, their quarterback room isn't as strong as they sort of hoped for coming into this offseason at this point. But I don't know what he's thinking. I feel like honestly, like if Cameron Hayward too, literally this was months ago at this point that we're talking about. Players are already on the field, putting in work, and also just building chemistry. So I feel like at this point, if Aaron Rodgers wants to build a better chemistry and sort of save his legacy here more, then I don't know. Personally, if I was Rodgers, I would have just reported to the team sooner and just figured out a contract way sooner than this. But at the same time, too, it's like it's Aaron Rodgers, so it's like he probably thinks, hey, I could probably just wait it out and still get a contract regardless.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to segue into what I was gonna say. Aaron Rodgers, he's on A-Rod time. He's always on Rodgers time. He's gonna move at his own pace, and I can understand it to a certain degree. He's getting to like the very end of his career. He's got to make the best decision for himself if he wants to retire, or if he wants to go to Pittsburgh. Then I've still heard there's a chance that he could go to Minnesota because there's the two games he speculated about that. Basically, one would be if he was on the Vikings, and one would be if he was on the Steelers. At this point, I don't even know if it's the best thing for the Steelers locker room. I'm sure Ben would agree that his impact on the locker room in the Jets the last couple years was not ideal. If anything, kind of calling out teammates and not always playing to the best degree either. I mean, we've heard a little bit. I think he maybe will end up a Steeler still. But yeah, if I'm gonna make my personal choice, if I was Aaron Rodgers, I would hang it up right now, just because if he really doesn't play that well, he's still going to be a lock for the Hall of Fame. But people are going to remember these final 3 years and remember that he just kind of fell off the face of the planet, both in football and kind of in life a little bit as well.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, I'll pass it off to Deuce, or if you want to add a little thought right there too,
yeah,
Ben.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say because we kind of experienced it firsthand too, going to Green Bay. We were kind of sort of asking around the Packers fans what they
True.
thought of Aaron Rodgers. I guess I mean we weren't really even trying to compare them to Brett Favre, but Favre was kind of thought of this kind of Grandpa Brett, and actually have seen Brett Favre in person. But like people were saying about Aaron. It was just surprising hearing people's opinions about him because he was such a great quarterback in Green Bay, and we were saying, is he that quarterback if he gets drafted by Green Bay because of like how special his career was with the Packers. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting to just see uh, the 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 non the wow. I'm just spitballing here, but not I get the non greatness amount of the Rodgers jerseys that we saw. We barely saw any Rodgers jerseys at Lambeau, and that was surprising to me considering there was over 200,000 people that weekend.
yeah. I mean, like I said multiple times, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I'm more in favor of Will Howard trying to earn the starting role for QB1 for Pittsburgh. I think right now him being there and OTA's around the corner, he's already there. He's getting the chemistry, developing the chemistry with these other players in the locker room. And Aaron Rodgers isn't even in Pittsburgh right now to say, and he's not there with the team getting the chemistry. So I just think that even if he did come later, the team chemistry wouldn't be the best as opposed to him coming right now. So like I said, I just think it's time for him to hang up the cleats. I liked what he did in Green Bay. He had a few rough years in New York, but I still thought that didn't tarnish his legacy. I just think right now going to Pittsburgh, and like Adam said, he has to know what's important for his career, what's best for his career at the moment, and who knows, Pittsburgh could very well much not even do good next year with the team they have. So if I was Rodgers, why just put yourself in that situation for who says one more year when you can just do it now? He's going to go down in the record books as one of the greatest quarterbacks to play. What he did in Green Bay was unbelievable. So I'm not opposed to him retiring. In fact, I just wish if he did retire, I'm happy for him and happy for what he did in his career. But just this is too much this off season, even after this, if he does sign with the Steelers. But OTAs are upon us. We saw a lot of good things going this week. Saw Kyler and Marvin Harrison. That clip really stood out to me. I saw Derrick Henry too. He looked like he got bigger a little bit. But
That's crazy.
the one talk that I know people are talking about is Haason Reddick has not showed up to Buccaneers training camp. And then he was on the Jets last year. So I know like you've
It's, I
already
mean,
experienced this, but I
hey,
just want to
the
know.
Jets are, like I said, the Jets are involved. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but like the Jets are literally involved in everything. I mean, the Buccaneers head coach too, Todd Bowles, my man, Elizabeth
Yeah,
native, but Elizabeth, New Jersey native. But like I feel like Hassan Reddick also just disappearing again, and then Todd Bowles just saying, "Oh, we might see him, one of these days." Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know what that means, but yeah, continue, Deuce.
yeah. But I really just like I would want to hear y'all's opinion on this Hassan Reddick thing, and I can start with Adam because Adam hasn't gave his take on that. I haven't even heard his take about it at all. But Adam, if you want to give your take on this Hassan Reddick little
Yeah.
fiasco, here you can go ahead.
Yeah, I mean it's never a good sign when you're not reporting early, when you're not there with your teammates, building the chemistry, and it's not the first time that we've seen this with Hassan Reddick. He's held out for contracts, if not one time, maybe even two times before. He I don't want to say he seems always unhappy, but and it's not necessarily like he's making it always about himself, but like it's not a good look. It's not a good look for the locker room. It's not a good look for his teammates. And especially yeah, when you're either going to a new place or yeah, starting a fresh season like that, you want to be on your best behavior. You want to be yeah, in the trenches with your teammates and getting all those meaningful reps, or especially when you have often a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, sometimes a new head coach. Like you need to be there, and you need to be rubbing shoulders with your teammates and getting better every day.
And it's interesting that you say, like, preparedness and like fresh starts too. Just talking about OTAs, like, I mean, I'm not really trying to toot my own horn or the Jets' horn here, but comparing Justin Fields is, the first player at the building during OTAs, and then just for comparison, you have other players on their new teams for the first year. Like, I'm not trying to call anybody out, but for example, we're talking about Haason Reddick right now. That's one guy. And then you have, people like Stephon Diggs also not reporting to OTAs today. Is actual report just now from Adam Schefter. So the day after that video that we saw coming out yesterday, just missing time in the lab, just working towards your team's off-season goals here. So, I mean, we're not really trying to like put anybody down here, but it's just something to note for us.
Yeah, and like OTAs is where you first really meet the team, like the full team, you build, that's where you build the team chemistry. That's where you get better as a team. And if one or the other person is not showing up, that leaves a pretty bad look on the player itself because, everybody should be at OTAs. Well, getting better with everybody. So, and yeah,
Even
you
if
can
it's
have
voluntary, yeah.
yeah, yeah, even if it's voluntary, and although he has his reasons or whatever his reason is, I just hope he gets back to OTAs because he's with the new team. I want to see him get better and build the chemistry with this Bucks team. I don't want to see him pan out like he did with New York because hopefully he can stay in Tampa Bay because Hassan Reddick is a very good player. We saw what he did in Philly,
Facts.
and the part times that he did play, he played a few games with the Jets, right, Benji?
Yeah, he played a couple of games
Yeah,
a little too late into the season, but
yeah, yeah. The few games
and then did absolutely nothing.
yeah, but I just know like the watching him play with the Eagles, he looked like a fantastic player. I thought he was going to stay there for a few more years, but obviously that didn't happen. But what I don't want him to do is become a player that starts a journeyman that starts bouncing from team to
Mm.
team because Hassan Reddick is too good of a player to be doing that if we're being honest. But I just hope, he gets it all situated and he's at OTA training camp. Stephon Diggs, whatever he got going on as well, I hope that all gets, figured out and cleared up. It's the, some people just in the off season, you get
He's
all
just
this
been
free
hanging out with
time.
Cardi B too much, man.
Yeah, you
Like
get
it's
all this
all right,
free
yo,
time.
the
You can.
Jets,
That's how. That's how trouble gets stirred.
I'm
But
saying, yo, and I'm the Jets, we got Ice Spice, so we good, we good.
yeah, but
Shit.
anyways, in the MLB, we got some series going on right now, and notable one I want these guests to tune into. But first, before I say that, this MLB segments will be coming more often weekly, as we continue to start watching these baseball games. But the few series that are really standing out to me right now are the Blue Jays and the Rangers. It's tied 1-1.
Hmm.
Rangers and the Blue Jays play tonight. Hopefully, Texas can get this win. And also the Reds plus the Royals. The Reds lead 2-0. Last game's tonight. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But what we will do is the Mariners are looking hot right now, and we talked about it last week. Adam really gave his depth and insight on it, and he's here to explain some more Mariners talk and some more inside the league. So, Adam, here the keys are yours.
All right. So I'll just start with the rest of the league, and then I'll finish off on the Mariners. So the recent power rankings just came out from most media outlets in the last couple of days. Phillies are now the top ranked team by most media outlets, and win streak extended to 9 games as of Sunday. They've also won 21 of 27 games, also as of Monday. So that's crazy. They're now 35-19 as of today, and they're leading their division by quite a big margin. Yankees are gonna be at number 2, led by Max Fried and Aaron Judge. But Max Fried is a ridiculous 7-0 right now on the year. He's a league leading 1.29 ERA. They've now won 6 straight series. But the Yankees just won their 6th straight series, and they're 34-20 as of today. So again, it's always a dogfight in the AL East, but the Yankees look like a dominant bunch this year, even after losing Juan Soto. But I mean, speaking of Juan Soto, the Mets are sitting squarely at number 4 in power rankings according to most, and they're really looking good, honestly. I didn't necessarily expect the Mets to be a top 5 team in baseball right now, but they're proving that they are a very, very good team this year. Then the Tigers, they're 37-20. In my opinion, they could still be first or second in power rankings, but a lot of people are dropping them to number 3 because the Phillies and Yankees just have a little bit more experience. But I just want to talk about Tarek Skubal for a little bit. Won the reigning Cy Young winner, and he's leading the way for the Tigers for sure. Every single start, he got off to a little bit of a bumpy road to start the season, but he just finished a very dominant shutout a couple days ago, ending with a 103-mile-an-hour pitch up and inside. I forget who he was throwing it to, but it's the hardest pitch on a swinging strike ever thrown in the Statcast era. So absolutely electric. And just a little background on him: he actually modeled his windup and release after Aroldis Chapman, who most people know. Aroldis Chapman, yeah, he's been a dominant closer with the Reds, Yankees. He's got around the league, but not because he's not a good player. He's now been doing it for over a decade. He somehow throws that hard and he doesn't get injured very often.
And now he's on the Red Sox.
Yeah, and he's continuing the dominance this year. Like it's crazy that he has been able to do what he's done for so long and throwing that hard, where you see a lot of other people like Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, some other fireballers that end up with a lot of injuries. But I think that's why he probably modeled his game after Aroldis Chapman. They're both lefties. I watched a Pitching Ninja little play-by-play the other day where they were framed on top of each other, and they really do look identical. So a little bit for the rest of the league. So we talked about the Yankees. Yeah, so they're leading by 6.5. Tigers have a 6-game lead in their division. And then I'll get into the Mariners a little bit right now. So they were very, very hot. Unfortunately, playing the Astros. At the
game, correct?
Yep, I was at the game last night. It's a dominant victory, 9-1 victory. Cal Raleigh was at 17 home runs. He had another 2 last night, which would have tied him for the league lead, but Shohei also hit one yesterday. So Shohei's sitting up top at 20, but Cal Raleigh putting an absolute dynamic season together, and he's one of the best defensive catchers in the game as well. Great at throwing out base runners, but he's just showing how dominant he can be at the plate this year. Yeah, and like I said, 9-1 victory, but shout out Logan Evans, who's a rookie for the Mariners, and he's now thrown for over 5 innings in every single start. But yesterday was by far his best outing. He went a full 8 innings, and I think it was only 4 hits he gave up, just the 1 earned run. Dominant outing from a rookie. But it is getting interesting. So after the Astros took 3 out of 4 from the Mariners, they are now up 1 game, I think 4-3 in the season series, and because of that, they're only 1 game behind the division leading Mariners. So it's getting real close. The A's have dropped off a little bit, but shout out to the Angels because they did have an 8-game winning streak, which was the best they've done in a decade. They then had to play the Yankees, so they've fallen off a little bit. But so yeah, we talked about the Phillies. The Mets they're 2 games behind the Phillies, but they're still doing very, very good. Yeah, like I said before, 2 of the top teams in power rankings. The two of the top 5. And then shout out Cubs. They're leading the NL Central by 3 games with a 34-21 record. They're getting it done in a lot of ways, and we'll see if they can continue it. But that's another team that's I think is right around 5 or 6 in the power rankings. Mariners have fallen off a little bit from 8 to 11, but still looking good. And maybe the biggest news for the Mariners is they're about to get back Logan Gilbert. And then George Kirby just had his first start of the season. So once they round back into form, I think the dominant pitching is going to be there. And if the offense continues, then it could be a very, very good season. I don't want to make any big World Series claims, but they could be a sneaky dark horse if that pitching continues and they can keep the bats hot. And then maybe add a bat at the deadline. And last but not least, the NL West. The Dodgers. Everyone expected them they're the reigning World Series champs. Everyone expected them to be the top team. They're right around 7th or 8th in a lot of people's power rankings, depending on the person. But the Padres. The Padres are having a dominant season. They're only 1.5 games behind. The Mariners did have they were able to sweep them that I talked about in the last episode, but they're still a very good team. And then you have the Giants also at 31-25. So that's a crazy division, which usually it's the AL East, but it honestly might be the NL West. That's the most competitive division, at least in the top three. So yeah, that's what I got for baseball. I don't know if you guys want to add
You
anything
guys,
else
you,
right now.
yeah, you guys want to get into NBA now?
Oh, just one thing before we get into the NBA, one thing that has been going on, and I feel like that we haven't covered enough was NHL. And I know
Oh,
we
that's
don't
right.
cover it enough, but right now the conference championships are going on, and Dallas is down 3-1. And I know Adam wanted to talk about that. I what I can say is, as a Dallas native, every year it's just like the Stars have this good team and they get so far. They make progress in the playoffs and then they just lose. And I'm not calling this out like the series is over, because the series is far from over. But it's like the days are looking over for the Stars season if they don't turn it around. It's not looking good right now, and I really don't want to see Dallas lose 3-1 when they have this good of a team. And I'm not taking away from the Oilers, not taking away from the Oilers, but man, Dallas know how to get your hopes up every year, and then just not. They play a good team in the playoffs, and man. But Adam, I know you wanted to talk about this.
hmm Yeah, so I mean that's relatable content talking about the Dallas Stars. As a diehard Maple Leafs fan, they always have a really good team. They end up getting eliminated in round one or round two every single time. But yeah, we'll talk about the Oilers and Dallas Stars real quick. Oilers won dominantly 4-1 last night, and since game one, it is now it's 13 goals to only 2 goals given up for the Oilers. So probably their one biggest pitfall usually is their goaltending, but Stuart Skinner is the type of goalie he's very streaky. He also has like I think 3 or 4 shutouts this postseason already, and he's now come up with back-to-back 1-goal games. So you have a goalie that's doing that, and then you have the best player on the planet in Connor McDavid, who's not just a goal scorer. He's probably the best assist man in the entire NHL, or top 3 for sure. And he does it on defense too. He's got a great forecheck. He really does get down and dirty, I'll say, and really does get the puck back. So he's a more complete forward. I'm gonna say it. He's better than Austin Matthews by a good margin. Austin Matthews might be the better goal scorer for Toronto, but he just doesn't have that like defensive capability and that like extra edge that Connor McDavid has. And also shout out Leon Draisaitl, one of the other best players in the NHL. So like when you have that dynamic duo and you do get the goaltending and some defense, they could go far. So Stars could easily still come back. You do see a lot of comebacks in NHL playoffs, a lot even from 3-1 down. So that series is far from over. But if they get one more performance like that, it could be lights out and they could be moving on to the Stanley Cup Finals. And then just a little bit on the other side, I'll just be real quick with this because the Florida Panthers have been absolutely dominant. But it does make me feel a little bit better about my Leafs just because the Leafs at least forced them to a Game 7, whereas the Panthers have just been dominant every single game, taking a 3-0 lead up until I think it was 2 nights ago when the Hurricanes actually got one. They ended up winning either 3-0 or 4-1. I forget the exact score, but it was a dominant showing for the Hurricanes. And yeah, they were able to get one back. So that series also not technically over, but I think the Panthers, I think that game's actually about to start in a few hours. So yeah, if you like hockey, tune into that game. Could be potentially a closeout game. And in my opinion, I got the Panthers winning tonight, and I think they'll move on to their second consecutive Stanley Cup final with a chance to go back to back.
Yeah, and I tell this to people all the time. If you like the NBA playoffs, I think you'll like the NHL playoffs. NHL playoffs is like, I consider it one of the best, honestly.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best. And I know as a person, I catch NHL games here and there every now and then. But I will say for the playoffs, the atmosphere is just different. That I think it's just like an upscale of the NBA playoff atmosphere. So I think those conference championship games are games y'all definitely don't want to miss. Stars could very much well come back. I agree with Adam when you say that the Panthers will make it to their second straight. But the Stars, I think they can come back. But if they don't, like Adam said, I just maybe next year. Just maybe next year.
Hmm.
Maybe next year.
If
And
they're
then
gonna
I
come
do
back,
wish,
it's gonna have to be Miko Rantanen, their best player. He was on a crazy tear, and then he's kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit lately. But if he comes back, you never know.
yeah, just maybe next year. But I won't even take away that the Stars had a good season because they did. So, but what everybody's been waiting for, the NBA playoffs.
Oh
We
man.
got our Eastern Conference and our Western Conference matchups, and in the West, we've seen the Thunder win some games by a particular margin, opposed to the East, where these games have been close. But that don't
Hmm.
take away the fact that these games have been. If you watch the games, they've been relatively close, aside from Game Three, in my opinion, Thunder Wolves. But I think most of the games have been relatively close up until a certain point, and I say this mainly for, in my opinion, when I say up until a certain point, I say this for the Thunder Wolves, and I think we can start with the Thunder Wolves on the Western Conference side first. But I think, well, I know, but these games, people say, oh, these games are just bloods. But I think if you watch the games, they're close to a certain point in the game, and then I think when that fourth quarter hits, that's when, for if we're gonna say the Wolves, because that's what I'm talking about. That's when the Wolves start to drop off. Aside from Game Three, where the Wolves just completely crushed the Thunder, the
Mm.
Wolves, I think, in my opinion, they've put up with the Thunder, but just towards the end of the games, that's where they lose their momentum train and they fall off. And the Thunder, they look like the best team. I've been
Mm.
saying that all playoffs. They look like legitimately the best
Agreed.
team. And I just think that is too much for the Timberwolves to overcome right now. I just think when you have when you have Julius Randle being inconsistent, and I wrote it down, putting up 28 the first game, 6 the next game, 24 the next game, then 5 the next game, that is not a key to success. And then I'm not just putting all the blame on Julius Randle, because Anthony Edwards has to step up and play his part too.
Hmm.
Because there's been some games where he put up his 30 points, but he has to do that for every game, in my opinion, if they really want to win this game. Because the Thunder are too good of a team, and yes, the Timberwolves' whole team needs to step up. Their whole team needs to step up, and I give credit to SGA's cousin. I can't, Nicole Alexander Walker, if that's his
Hmm.
name, right?
Nikhil, but you got the
Yeah,
rest.
Nikhil,
Yeah.
yeah. He's played predominantly well this series, but I still believe as a team, the whole team needs to step up. You can't just have Ant putting up 30 points per game and you expect to win. The Thunder are too deep and too good of a team to do that, and we keep seeing that. Plus, not to mention, SGA has just been SGA down through J Dub, Chet. Look like they just
Hmm.
been able to get whatever they want through the Timberwolves, and mainly SGA.
Hmm.
He's looked like the clear MVP this series on what he's been doing to the Timberwolves. If I'm correct, 3 30-point games, one out of one of them, one's a 40-point game, right?
Yep.
If I'm
Scored
correct,
40 last night.
yeah. So what they've been doing to the Timberwolves offensively and defensively is just, they look like the better team. If that's all, it's clear as that. They have the better rotation, better depth. They look faster. They just look more ready than the Timberwolves. And I want to hear y'all's opinion on these playoffs in a sec. But what I get is, on the Western Conference, I low key think that if the Timberwolves don't win tonight, this like this is over, and it will be over if, because this is Game 5, right? Yeah, if
Yeah.
they
Hmm.
don't
Yeah.
win
It's
Yep.
tonight,
four
this
games.
will
Yep.
be over, and this tonight is a must win. Last game was a must win, and they almost
Mm.
won, but the Thunder won in the closing seconds. That means this game back in OKC is a must win, and that's going to be difficult. What what they did them first 2 games in OKC, and yeah, you could say Minnesota, they put up with them for a good while, but in the end, the Thunder showed that they were the better team, and I think that will happen tonight if the Timberwolves don't come out the gate ready to play. Everybody has to do their part. Everybody has to step up. Randall cannot play inconsistent. Anthony Edwards really needs to score. He needs to have over 30 points if they want to win.
Mm.
Julius Randle, you could say over 20 points. Gobert, he has to play his presence, and the whole team has to play their part. No chucking up these horrible threes like they did in OKC. It just, if you want to win, got to step up. That's really the key. Just step up. But I want to hear y'all's opinion.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I have a lot to say and also a lot to apologize for too. I mean, clearly y'all saw my video after both game ones. Clearly the Indiana Pacers proved me wrong, and ironically doing so because, I was chatting a lot of, Knicks in 5, but it's about to be Pacers in 5. But you know, after these first two game ones, I had to drop that video. Those stat lines from those games were just so insane to me. Guys, that first game one, and this is, going back, it's been a while since we've talked here in the pod now because we're already fast forwarding to game 4 of both of these series now. But Rudy Gobert finished with 2 points. That hasn't happened since 2014. I just think the Timberwolves we were watching for those first, I think 2 games were just uncharacteristic for them. Just they had no defense. The Thunder was just too fast for them, and even this last game that they just lost, I feel like they sort of shot themselves in the foot, and it was the reason they really lost the game at the end because they were playing foul, catch up at the end was just leaving people wide open. J Dub, I'm surprised that they keep sort of doubting him, leaving him wide open, and then you had Caruso still hitting threes, but it was just also surprising to see because in game 3, not only did the Timberwolves win game 3, but they blew the Thunder out of the building. They scored almost 150 points. So going from that and then sort of the way that game 4 ended the way it did, kind of like a back to square one, kind of like all that you worked for in game 3 to win it, put it to 2-1. It's like you have to win this game, and then they didn't. So got to give props to SGA too as well. He's been hooping this entire series, dropping like 40 every single night except for game 3. But just segueing back to the East real quick. It just hurts. Obviously, it hurts. As the city of New York, but it's still not over. Still not over. It's first we're in the Reach 4. I think honestly, like, let me gather my thoughts here. It was going to be very hard to win in Indiana in Game 6, even if the Knicks do take Game 5 in MSG, right? But I think what people need to understand is that these playoffs that we're watching right here, and even just this Knicks Pacers series, this entire NBA playoffs is going to go down as a classic, I feel like, because all these games have been going, neck and neck, literally like points a possession. Like Cat could miss one free throw, and that could be the game right there in the third quarter, or not the third quarter, sorry, but beginning in the fourth, and it's like we don't even know it. But one thing I will say for both of these series, I guess, and I'll pass it to Adam after this, so we could talk about the conference finals. But I feel like there's got to be better, refereeing, and we were talking about this off air earlier. And it's always easy to look at that in any sport. We had the Saints, Ram moment, because it's like it's such a big spot to be in these games because one thing could go one way or the other, and it could decide the whole game. But when you got 5 foul calls called on the Knicks in the span of like 20 seconds on one possession, I don't know. That was just a little ridiculous. Like that just like what? But go ahead, Adam.
Oh yeah, okay. So where to start? We're getting some electric series first of all. No matter what, we're either going to get the Knicks winning for the first time. If they're able to come back and win the finals, it'll be the first time in about 40 years. Otherwise, we're getting a first-time NBA champion, and that's really, really exciting to me as an NBA fan, even as a Lakers fan. We were eliminated early, but I'm just stoked to watch these matchups right now. And I'm just going to give myself a little pat on the back because right now I'm 8-0 in conference finals predictions. And I'll give you my call for the Thunder and the Wolves tonight in just a moment. But just to unpack a little bit of last night, SGA got 40. J Dub had 34. He hit a really clutch dagger 3 to end the game. Apologize for the barking. And then on top of that, Chet showed up. I think he hit about 4 threes or somewhere around there. He was hitting clutch buckets. And maybe the most clutch thing he did was in the last 5 minutes. I think it was even maybe less than 3 minutes. He got a really clutch block, and that maybe didn't seal the game, but it was one of in a very close 2 point victory, if I remember correctly. It was one of those key plays that makes a big difference in the long run and in winning a game, and then something that could clinch the series as well. Because I mean, there's not many teams that are able to come back from 3-1 down. Um, the Thunder, yeah, the Thunder are looking dominant. They prove they're one of the best teams in NBA history in the regular season, and they're backing it up. And they're not doing it with size either, so it's very interesting to watch because they're playing Chet at the five. They have Isaiah Hartenstein, but he's getting very few minutes, just minutes when they need a rebound here and there. Like they put him in to end the game on Ant's second free throw attempt when everyone knew that he was going to purposely try to miss it so they could get the ball back and maybe have a chance to tie it right there. But then what ended up happening, I think the ball bounced to SGA. He threw it up in the air, and then there was only zero point 0.1 seconds left after actually a Timberwolves fan caught it, which like he even gave props to him for catching it because maybe could have given him an extra like half a second, or you need zero point 0.4 seconds to get a shot off in the NBA if I remember correctly. So great victory. Getting into the Pacers and Knicks series. They showed up again, even with a banged up Nemhard. He did end up playing, but Pacers won. They're now also in a dominant 3-1 series lead. I could see the Knicks winning the next game. I won't get in my prediction until tomorrow because I like to wait until right before the game. But yeah, I think we're definitely gonna get Pacers versus Thunders in the finals. Originally, I had Pacers winning in 7. It might happen sooner than that. I had Thunder winning in 6. That honestly, it might be dead on, but
Happy tonight.
I'm
Who
gonna.
knows?
It might be tonight. Yeah, it could be in 5, and so I am gonna go on a limb, and I'm gonna say that the Thunder are gonna close it out tonight and
Hmm.
put my unbeaten record on the line. But the keys to victory for if the Wolves are gonna win, it's gotta be Ant, and it's gotta be very early. But if the Thunder have the same game plan where shout out Caruso, shout out Lou Dort, because they're just overwhelming him. And when you have two dominant wing defenders like that, and you throw both of them, even at a guy that's MVP level at times, and even a guy that could be the future face of the NBA. But to me, he needs to put on that kind of Kobe Bryant performance. Show that grit and determination. It doesn't matter if there's double teams. You got to split it. And he was interviewed after the game. He was making the right play at all times where he was getting doubled. He was making the right pass. But Alexander Walker, yeah, he's playing out of his mind. But he's not the best player on the team. He's not going to win the game. And if you have Julius Randle, like Deuce said, if you don't have Julius Randle scoring 20 and you don't have Ant getting 30, it's just like, where are the points going to come from? Because, Rudy Gobert is not a big scorer. He never has been. Mm-hmm. But, like, if he's not even getting, like, 10, 15, which is, some average numbers for a starting center or a guy that's getting a lot of minutes, like, where you got to get the points coming from somewhere. Because Thunder, on top of being a great defensive team, they're also a dominant offensive team as well. So at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to those little things, and Ant's going to have to be really aggressive early because I think he only had like 2 shots in the first half, and they only ended with right around like 13 to 15 shots. I think he only had 16 points in the game, and he didn't play bad. Like he even said, like, well, I didn't play bad. I was just making the right play. But he's a star. He's a superstar player, and he needs to honestly just run through some double teams. And even if it does get him an offensive foul, it'll show to his team that like he's fighting as hard as possible. And he led the NBA in 3-point shots. So like from that standpoint, like he maybe just take a few more threes. Like Luka does it all the time. They're not even always good shots, but like if you're really that good of a player, the same way Kobe Bryant would just shoot over double teams. Like if Ant is going to prove to be the face of the NBA, like he needs to prove it right now.
Yeah, and I would say this because I was just thinking about this the other day. It is crazy that right now we're entering a period where in the next 1, 2, 3 years, these OGs are going to be out the league, and these young superstars, it's their time. We're seeing it right now with these conference finals. It's their time to shine. And like you said, these players like Ant, for instance, these past players I can think about, these OG players, they will be in these playoffs, they would be doing everything to win. just shooting the ball, going
Steph
30,
Curry, bro.
40 to win and I get you making a smart play, but as a superstar, you have to
Exactly.
be the one to take the charge of the team and go score the ball. I don't care how many shots you take, go score the ball. But jump let me I want to give my Pacers Knicks opinion because honestly, I feel bad for Knicks fans. If I'm being honest, because 2, 3 of these games could have went the other way. It could very much well be Knicks up 3-1 right now. But things happen in the sports world. Is crazy,
Hmm.
and They're down 3-1. But I will say this: just the Pacers they look even with what you call it Nimhard's injury, they still look younger, they still look deeper, and they still look faster than just the Knicks at all times. And it looks like the way when they're rotating the offense, when they're rotating these lineups out, that they that they can still have fresh legs in the game,
Hmm.
opposed to where the Knicks are sometimes caught looking tired on the court. And I just think that plays a part. But I think this series, this Pacers team has just looked more fresh off the bench, given the opportunities they had. One player I want to mention, aside from Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam this series has
He's
For
been
been
hooping,
putting
sure.
up
yeah.
amazing games.
Ballin'.
Two games that stood out to me, and I wrote it down, were his game two performance,
Mm,
where he put up 39, 5 and 3. He almost put up 40, and that was in New York.
mm,
Then he goes back in game four, last game, put up 35 and 2 alongside Halliburton, who put up 32, 12, and 15.
mm.
So these two have been playing amazing. And let me say this: this is how what you call it, Ant and Julius Randle need to be playing. They need to take notes from this. What Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam are doing, or what they need to take notes from. They look like they want to win. They're going to score the ball. They're taking the opportunities. They're taking the opportunities they get. If they have an open shot, they're taking it. They're not passing it up. Hallie is looking like a true point guard right now, and that's where I'm giving him all his credit. But
Mhm.
Brunson, and Brunson has still put up these 30-point games, so that is nothing taking it away. I just think in late moment situations, the Knicks just fumble. They fold in these late game situations, missing free throws, drawing these fouls in these late game situations that you don't do, and that is what's losing them the game. I think very much well they could have won game one and two. In fact, I thought game one was going to New York. If I'm being
Yeah,
honest, I
they
I
got way
wrote
too
that.
comfortable that game.
Yeah. So if if they want to turn this series around, they got to pick up the slack. And I know they're doing what they're doing on the court. But like I said, the Pacers right now, they just look like the younger, fresher team out of these rotations that is keeping them able to score. And the Pacers they already have good depth. If Nimhard, Naismith, Toppin, Turner, all of them, that's just great depth, great young depth for the Pacers, and that's only helping them for the future. But my prediction is I think New York gets one more in New York, but there is no way they go back to Indiana and they beat Indiana in game 6. So I think Indiana wins in 6 in my opinion. I think New York scratches one more out of them. For the West, I if the Timberwolves don't win tonight, it's over. The Thunder going to win in 5 in my opinion, and that sets up your Pacers Thunder matchup. And I said last podcast I didn't want to be jump too quick into this is before our game ones, but I didn't want to jump too quick into our predictions. But I mean, after game one, I could kind of see how this series was going to play out. And it's like the similar, in my opinion, it's like the similar story or what I'm pointing out. These teams that are losing, their bench doesn't look as fast and as young with the
Hmm.
great depth for instance, that the Timberwolves and the Knicks have compared to the Thunder and the Pacers. Thunder and the Pacers team is younger, in my opinion, quicker, faster, and the lineups are just more off the bench that can suit to whatever the team needs at the moment. Like Adam said, you can just plug in Hartenstein just to get rebounds whenever you need them. But Chet is playing the 5 perfectly fine right now.
For sure.
So the Pacers Thunder. Yeah, I think if this is the playoff championship, NBA championship finals, I think we could see it be an interesting one. But ultimately, I have the Thunder as, and this is my too early NBA prediction, but I have the Thunder as my NBA champion. I think if they go to the finals, which most likely they will, I think the Pacers can still put up. This is if the Pacers win, in my opinion, they can still put up a good series. But I just think right now the Thunder look like the clear best team in the NBA, just how the Celtics look like the clear best team in the NBA last year. I just don't see any team really able to stand up with them. And I said this before. In my opinion, the Western Conference Final for me was the Thunder versus the Nuggets, because whoever won that, in my
Mhm.
opinion, was going to go to the finals. I
Yeah.
I still don't think it's the Timberwolves' time. Yeah, like I keep saying, it's on the horizon. But just right now, the Thunder just look like the best team on the East. I mean, on the East, but on the West and on the
In the
East,
world.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
in
honestly.
the on the East, the Pacers look like the best team in the East. And overall, NBA, I think the not the Celtics, but the Thunder are the best team right now, and they backed it up in the regular season. A lot of people call them fake and frauds in the regular season, but record don't lie. The record does not lie, and they're backing up these playoffs, and nobody can take that away from them. And it'll be interesting if the Knicks don't go back to see who will be the first time NBA champion. Thunder made it 1 to 20 earlier. I think it was 2013 or 20. I don't remember correctly. 2013 or 2012, one of those two, where they played the Heat and they lost. That they had some early hope there, and they didn't complete the mission with KD, Russ, and Harden in them. But hopefully, this Thunder squad can be the one to bring the championship back to OKC, and I got hope that they can do it.
I just want to drop one quick stat I forgot to mention earlier. In yesterday's game in the Pacers Knicks series, Tyrese Halliburton had 15 assists, zero turnovers. The Knicks as a team had 17 assists and 17 turnovers. So, I mean, that's the game right there. When you're basically getting like an extra 20 possessions almost, and that doesn't even count offensive rebounds and other things as well. But just off turnovers, it's hard to come back from that. So I do think the Knicks can still win the next game. I'll make the actual prediction tomorrow. But they're going to have to play turnover-free basketball. They're going to have under 10 turnovers, or I don't think it's going to happen. And just you were talking about that core of Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant. In 10 years, they've gone from that to trading every single one of those players or them leaving a free agency, whatever. But shout out Sam Presti, who might be the best GM in basketball right now
Nah,
because that man has made countless moves. It actually goes back to now
Paul
I can't
George
remember the
alone saved the NBA.
yeah, no, it's in like Rashard Lewis. It actually like saw this crazy paper trail that it all goes back to them trading or getting a player exception or something like that with Rashard Lewis. Basically, it somehow goes all the way back to Rashard Lewis, which then led to the Paul George trade. And they got 5 first-round picks from that. That's where they got SGA. It's where they got a lot of their core, and they're not going away. They're one of the youngest teams in the NBA, and then they have a big European star. I think Topic is his last name, and he didn't play he didn't play one game this entire season. So they're only going to get better. They have even more draft picks. So like at some point, I think they have the most draft picks until 2030
I
of
was gonna
any
say,
single
isn't the
team.
year where they have like a boatload of picks 2026?
Yeah, they have 2 first-round picks this next year, so it's like they're only going to get better. A lot of people are saying at some point they just need to trade 2, 3 first-round picks and just get another superstar. I don't know if they need it. I honestly think the way they're doing it and just kind of just grabbing the best player available, it's just gonna keep adding depth and youth to this roster. And I mean, in fantasy football, that's how I love to build my rosters. Just keep adding youth, keep adding talent, and of course we're talking basketball, but like that's how you win long term. And if they just keep adding like the little pieces, they're gonna be hard to stop for a long, long time. And like no one thought Caruso was gonna be like such a big contributor, but it turns out he is. Like he's scrappy. You need those scrappy defensive players. And the Lakers were missing. Like he used to play for the Lakers. The Lakers were missing that. They got blown out the water by Minnesota Timberwolves. But the Thunder are showing like they're by far the most well-rounded team, and I think they're for sure going to win the NBA championship when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I see the I see similar traits in the Thunder's organization that I see in the Pacers organization. You know, for instance, the Pacers have built that team around Hallie pretty well, whether you like it or not.
Hmm.
And the Pacers have a very bright future. Them so Well, one thing that has really brought out this playoffs is that these young teams have a bright future if you just keep building around them right, because everything for them is going in the right direction. Mainly, in my opinion, what stood out to me is and what I see similarities in is the Thunder and the Pacers in sense of the way they've built these teams. Not to take away from the Knicks or anything, I just think the Knicks have a little bit of age on them aside of Brunson and a few other players, but like Cat and Mitchell Robinson and them, I just think that's age on the Knicks roster. But I'm not taking away anything that the Knicks have done all playoffs because I'm always been a highly supporter of the Knicks in the playoffs because I always want to see them. You know, you always want to see them historic teams in the championship. But like I said, it'll be interesting to see if the Knicks don't make it, a new first time NBA champion. But as I wrap up the show, or as we wrap up the show, you know, next week we should have, or next week is the NBA championship, and you know we'll be covering. We'll try to cover and give our thoughts on every game that happens. You know, it'll be interesting to see who the teams are in the championship. You know, I already gave my prediction: Thunder, Pacers. But as I wrap this up, I just want to say this: thank y'all for everything that y'all do. This is from the Inside the Locker Room team. You know, thank y'all for all the support, all the constant sharing, and all the engagement. We really appreciate it as a team. Thank y'all for the support and keep it coming. As I close this episode out, have a good day. All of y'all, truly means a lot. Thank you and enjoy y'all this show.
Peace out, guys.